Hi, Virgo. It's Angela. We are here. We're going to do a reading for Virgo for an update for the month of September 2022. This is for Virgo Sun, Moon, Rising, wherever you might have it in your chart as well. Or if you just opened this video and thought, I want to learn about this or I want to explore this, this message is for you as well. We're intuitively driven. We don't make predictions that are outside of our own soul. We work on aspects of ourselves that we can elevate and make better as we grow and develop. And typically what we do is pull one oracle card and then we clarify it and get a little more detail using the Zen Tarot cards. So the oracle deck we're using this time is Earthcraft Oracle. And the card that I pulled for you at this time, Virgo, is Offerings. This is inviting you to consider or to review where in your life there's imbalance between give and take, right? Some of us are just natural takers, right? We allow ourselves to be taken care of, allow people to help us, and without a thought of the reciprocal gesture. Sometimes we're just raised that way, our parents took good care of us and just provided everything we needed and we didn't really have to fend for ourselves. And sometimes it could be out of something that like a big event or a recurring pattern in our early days where we had to sort of shift the way we interact with others by not being more of a receiver. I wouldn't say taker, but a receiver of others' energy. I guess taker is kind of harsh, huh? That sounds deliberate. And then some of us are a little imbalanced on the other end, where we're just giving and giving and giving and giving all our energy away to others to help others and serve others, but forgetting to sort of refill our own tank. So we're here to sort of explore that balance, to find a way that we can serve our soul, yet also be there for others. I'm sure it might start with, for some of us, to just show gratitude, and in all the giving that we do is showing our gratitude. But yeah, like there are many ways to do that. You can, call up a friend to see how they're doing. That's an act of giving, right? If you feel that you've just been complacent or receiving and just receiving and not really completing that cycle by giving back, then there are ways that we can work on to sort of balance this out in us. Giving to the planet, if you're walking on your nature walk and you have a bottle of water, water a flower a little bit or something like that. Even these tiniest gestures helps to recreate or, reestablish that balance. That really helps us to show up and be present in a more completely balanced way. Okay, let's see what the Zen cards say. Let's just get to some details here. All right. So your starting point, Virgo, is in this row. This spread is called the tree spread. It's a spread that I sort of created. We have sets of branches here and then the trunk. And, this higher set of branches is basically your higher self and how the growth can occur within you. Okay. So your starting point is projections. Well, look at that. How do I see myself showing up for others? And in return, how do they see me, or what do they expect of me? Right? If I'm a giver and giving and giving and giving, and then I realize, oh, I think I need to balance this out a bit. I think I need to hold back on my generosity because I'm giving my whole entire energy away. How would that affect others who are used to being the recipients of that generosity, right? Are they going to be like, oh, you're changed, or I expect this from you, or whatever? So this is something to explore and examine. This may be actually a point of fear for you as far as being able to start saying no more, that may be like, well, how will I be viewed if I begin to say no? Or I guess if you're used to saying no and you begin to say yes more and be more giving in that sense, then I guess this card would be more from your end. How do I want to project myself? How do I want to be seen as someone who is more of a taker or more of a generous heart? So this is sort of that outer or the mirrored version of yourself and how you currently handle your balance of give and take, giving and receiving. Internally, we've got stress. So any expectations that are made of us, I'm gonna jump right over to those of us who are givers, mostly givers, generous giving. And then when you start to realign that and create some boundaries and say no for yourself, it might throw others off. And maybe that act of just always giving, it may create a certain amount of stress for you within. And this could be, if this message is clear for you right now, Virgo, if this is something that's making sense, then this could be the point where you start to realize, I'm giving it all away. My tank is empty. And, how do I remedy that? And that will come with setting boundaries. On the reverse, if you're someone who's used to receiving, others may start to notice and say, hey, that sucks. The way you're always, you're not really ever showing up for others. And that could create stress within. So either way, the imbalance between the giving and receiving, that imbalance creates an imbalance within you. And that creates a certain amount of stress. This is internal. So this isn't like showing up all stressed out in life, and screaming and barking orders and slamming doors or however the outward expressions of stress are. This is more of an inner knowing that imbalance in itself creates stress within my being. Okay. So just being able to assess it, this is like your point of assessment. How much do I give and receive? Where are my boundaries? Are they firm? Are they clear? Do others, clearly know what my boundaries are and how far to go with me or how far I will go? So that assessment here is, tuning into the amount of stress within your being, and compared to what you believe is expected of you or how you believe you need to show up, all those factors are considered here in just these first two cards. In your external world, we have a move, a shift to allow your higher self to guide you a little more through this process. This is definitely in the external position. So this would be your practices, I believe, that as you're examining your balance between giving and receiving, how do I balance that out? What can I do to even begin to balance that out? This could be, first of all, the first thing I think of is in meditation, right? If you can clear the energy and see a sort of even playing field, in your experience, in your energetic field, that creates a softness, that creates an ease, that this balance starts to come into play. I think of moms and parents, mostly moms, because I'm a mom. That's probably why I said it. It's a projection of mine, right? But I think of parents and how sometimes hard it is to strike that balance and to set those boundaries, because from early ages, children need a certain amount of just always being provided for, right? Especially at infancy and early development. Then you start to pull off a little bit, let them discover things for themselves, not provide all the answers all the time, You know, sometimes there's levels of discomfort, even in childhood, that we must endure in order to learn what our own personal boundaries are or how far we can take anything. So as a parent, that's a tough one, is to find that balance, right? It's very stressful. It's very stressful sometimes. And then of course, as they get older and they're in young adulthood, their boundaries are a lot wider. You know, their autonomy is setting in. They're beginning to realize, you know, their real true place in the world and how they're developing. And it's tough to be on the sidelines as a parent and not go, here, let me give you this advice. Here, let me help you figure this out, right? So I like that. But if you are moving in tune and in concert with your higher self, there's a knowing there, right? And you know, if you look at this figure of the Buddha, the third eye is lit up. So there's a knowing, there's an intuitive knowing that maybe we don't always tune into because out of habit, you know, as we're talking about striking this balance between give and take. And so this advice, this guidance with this card being in the external position, it's really saying, take some action, find some practices, find some ways, write a list. You know, I will say no more. Wake up and have a little alarm on your phone that reminds you, you know, don't always say yes or whatever, you know, like practice saying no now and then, hold your boundaries firm, whatever it is that you need to do in your physical day to sort of nudge you back toward that balanced space. I know this can, you know, too much giving can be very depleting to your soul, to your, you know, your body and your soul. And too much receiving does that as well for the other. You know, if you're receiving too much and never really rebounding or reciprocating, that creates issues in relationships, right? So if we each hold ourselves accountable for our own personal balance in this area, then you end up having much more ease in your interactions with others. And that stress can, you know, really wane off. Okay, let me get to the other cards. So now this card here is going to be our key to elevating this process, our key to moving forward, our key to the growth. Okay, and the growth is up here on this higher level of branches per se. All right, so the key to moving forward, suppression card. What needs to be released from you, from your spirit, from your mind, from your body? What needs to be released? Is this like when we think of this give and take balance, for you personally, did this bring up a specific situation? If so, what aspect of that can you let fall away? Because you're holding in too much. You're trying to hold it all together by being either one way or the other. And what we want to do is release some of that energy so that we can create a more comfortable space. Like I said, that sort of even playing field within your energetic space. Definitely, this could also be a gripping or a holding on to patterns the way it's always been. I've always been a giver. If I don't show up and be a giver now, if I start saying no, everybody's life's gonna, you know, become more difficult, and I don't want to bear that burden. But you know, this could require releasing the concept that you are the center of all of that for everyone, right? And shifting that to being you're the center of your own needs and your own soul's growth. And you know, and then hopefully, you know, you can release some of those concepts. I'm thinking of like sort of mental thought patterns that you have that are telling you, I can only be this way, or I'm not going to be loved, or the other way around. So the release could be that. It could also be, you know, within you, maybe it's the need to please. You know, we all can get there sometimes where we want to just please everyone, and it ends up really depleting our own tank. So maybe we work on that. We work on that feeling of, you know, I can say no and leave people displeased, and it will still be okay, because, you know, they'll work through it. I don't have to be responsible for the way someone else feels. So there's a few things to consider there, but for you personally, what is that thing that's being clung to, that you can sort of soften a little bit and let fall away? Once you identify that and you begin to remind yourself, like maybe it has to happen like every time someone asks something of you and your automatic response is, okay, at what time, where should I be there? How much, you know, how fast do you want me to show up? Maybe instead you release that need to quickly communicate back, and you just allow yourself time to sit with it. Let me form my response. Let me evaluate how much I can give in this moment, and then communicate that clearly, instead of I will be there no matter what, you know, that kind of thing. So that card, that's definitely the key to your higher perspective on this. It's, you know, seeing the whole picture, and what is my role? What am I clinging to in this that keeps me in this cycle, in this imbalance? Okay, then we land here at our higher perspective, and I got the miser. Yeah, this is that woman who's gripping everything close to her. I have everything I need, and I'm not going to share any of it. Or I have a lot of generosity in my heart, but I'm afraid to show up that way. So I'll just keep receiving and collecting, because I'm afraid it's too vulnerable for me to show up and be giving and show my heart. You know, there's, you know, flip sides to this, but really the key here is to, you know, she's got this wall built around her and she's gripping onto all her little riches. And the key is to relax that a little bit, you know, even if in your meditations or your visualization practices, you can see yourself grip, you know, you can actually, or physically do it, grip your hand and feel that tension and feel that stress that creates if you grip tightly, and then sort of loosen the grip a little bit, just a little bit. It really relieves a lot of that, right? But you still have kind of curled up hands that might get stuck that way if they remain there. So now we work on, you know, opening and really being willing to receive, and to give, right? Give with one, receive with the other. So, you know, this is your higher perspective kind of going, yeah, it shouldn't just be one way. It shouldn't just be that I collect everything and I never have to give or show up. And it should not also not be the other way around. So I like this because that's just your attunement, your awareness of where you are and where you can loosen some of those bricks on that wall that's covering her. Internally and within you, the card that supports this this miser card is traveling. So this is nice because this is, you know, once you clarify where you're imbalanced in this process with the vibration of offerings, of give and take, once you clarify where you are on that scale and you make a conscious effort that I'm going to shift that scale a little bit, starting with what needs to be released. And then you start to realize, okay, it's not so bad having this balance. It actually is a lot easier. And then maybe you slip, right? And you start to forget to say no. And you get back into the old habits. Well, I like that this card, this traveling card, is in your internal being, reminding you that the path continues, the growth continues, the seeking continues, the knowledge that you gain continues, and you're not really ever going to reach one point and then stay that way forever, right? It's always moving. There's always a road ahead. There's always road that you've traveled behind that you can learn from. So this kind of eases the pressure a little bit and allows you to make a couple mistakes, stumble a little bit along the road, and then get back up and move along. This could apply to anything in your life, but in this particular instance, we're talking about that balance of receiving and giving. And then externally, the final card, what could be like better? But this final card is kind of capping off the reading and giving us a whole overview or insight into how it can manifest. And we got compromise. So it's that balance, right? It's finding those spaces where, yeah, I usually say yes. Like if someone requests something of you, yep, I usually say yes. And I'm sorry, but this time I won't be able to help, or I won't be able to be there, or whatever it is. It's really just, I think if we took each request or each scenario where it takes interacting, you know, a give and take kind of a thing, and just really tune in to what's right for me in this moment, then I think naturally we will have a balance as we travel, you know, along our road. I think that it will naturally create a balance. It's when our mind gets involved. Oh, they helped me last time and I have to help them this time, or you know, I have to be there for them or they're going to think poorly of me, or whatever. Our mind kind of can mess us up sometimes in some of these scenarios, because our alignment it starts with the core of us, with how we feel, how we're moved by something. And I think if we were more attuned to, let me pause, someone had a request of me, let me pause, see where I'm at. Does this feel like something I want to do in this moment? I think if we moved more in that way, for most of us, the compromise, it would come naturally. And I think the balance would be natural as well. But some interesting concepts here. I hope it was clear for you guys. I hope it helped some of you. Let me know in the comments, do all the liking, sharing, and all that stuff to help the channel. And I love you guys. See you soon.